Indiana needs to play with. Kia Stokes late on the help.
For a track meet here tonight, the Aces play second fastest, Indiana third fastest, and Lexi Hull, the league's top 3 Clark got around Stokes, gets to the rim, lays it in, and a foul.
Left, but going right. She has such a great change of pace, and she's learned to play through the contact. Going left, but going right. She has such a great change of pace, and she's learned to play through the contact.
You won't believe what just went down in the Fever Aces game. Fans are losing it over some seriously questionable calls. We're talking about refs making decisions that had everyone scratching their heads. Ready to see why this game has got everyone talking? Picture this. The Fever and Aces face to face in a packed arena. The energy was off the charts. You could feel the tension in the air. The Fever were fighting for their playoff dreams, while the Aces wanted to keep their top spot. Every point mattered, and both teams knew it. But here's where things got wild. Some calls from the refs had fans jumping out of their seats, and not in a good way. I'm talking about moments that changed the whole game. You know those plays where you're like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, we had a bunch of those. This wasn't just any game. For the Fever, it was do or die. They needed this win to stay in the playoff race. And for the Aces, they wanted to prove why they're the team to beat. Trust me, you're gonna want to hear what went down in this crazy matchup. Before we continue, I'd like to ask for a quick favor. If you're enjoying this content, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of our viewers watch without subscribing, and while it's free for you, it makes a world of difference to us. Have you hit that subscribe button? Awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the video. And just when you thought you knew how this matchup would go, everything changed. Picture this. Caitlin Clark driving to the basket, Tiffany Hayes defending, and then chaos. What really happened in that crucial moment, and why are fans demanding answers? Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark, the Fever's star player, was making her move. She's known for her quick drives and killer shots, but as she went for the basket, using her left hand to shield herself from Aces guard Tiffany Hayes, something unexpected happened. Hayes snapped her head back and grabbed her face like she'd been hit by a truck. The ref's whistle blew, and suddenly Clark was called for an offensive foul. Fans went wild, and not in a good way. Social media exploded with comments about Hayes' acting job. One fan even said, "We just laughing at the acting job." It was clear that most people thought Hayes had flopped, exaggerating the contact to get the call. This wasn't just any call, it changed the whole game. Clark's playing style is all about using her skills to get past defenders. But the Aces had a different plan. They were playing rough, pushing, and shoving Clark all game. And the refs? They weren't calling it consistently. So when this foul happened, it threw Clark off her game. Instead of setting up plays for her teammates like she usually does, she had to focus more on scoring. The Fever's whole strategy had to change because of one questionable call. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about one play or one game. It exposed a bigger issue in the WNBA. Fans are frustrated with the lack of consistency in foul calls. They're asking why some players can get away with physical play, while others get called for the smallest contact. The Fever were fighting for their playoff dreams in this game. Every point, every possession mattered. So when a call like this happens, it doesn't just affect one play. It can change the whole momentum of the game. The Fever struggled to find their rhythm after this, and you could see the frustration on their faces. But the Fever's frustration was just the beginning. What if I told you a foul was called when no one even touched anyone? It sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened between Aaliyah Boston and Aja Wilson. How does a ref make a call like that, and what does it mean for the game? Let's break down this wild moment. Picture Aaliyah Boston, the Fever's defensive powerhouse, squaring up against Aja Wilson of the Aces. Wilson's backing down Boston, trying to create space for a shot. Boston's playing smart, hands up, not giving an inch. Wilson goes for the shot, and then the whistle blows. Foul on Boston. Wait, what? Here's the kicker. There was no contact. None. Zip. Nada. Fans were losing their minds, and can you blame them? It's like getting a speeding ticket while your car's parked in the garage. How does that even happen? But it gets crazier. This wasn't just a one-off bad call. Throughout the game, there were plays where actual contact was made, and the refs swallowed their whistles. It's like they were watching a different game or had their foul vision glasses on backward. Now, think about how this affects Boston's game. She's a defensive beast, but after that phantom call, she had to play it safe. No more aggressive defense, no more risky plays. She's thinking, if I get called for a foul when I don't even touch someone, what happens if I actually make contact? It's like trying to cook with one hand tied behind your back. This isn't just about one player or one game. It's a symptom of a bigger problem in the WNBA. Refs have a tough job, no doubt. But when calls like this happen, it changes everything. Teams can't plan their strategy if they don't know what's going to be called a foul from 1 minute to the next. Think about it. The Fever are fighting for a playoff spot. Every possession counts. Every point matters. So when a key player like Boston has to change her entire defensive approach because of a bad call, it doesn't just affect her. It ripples through the whole team. The Fever's game plan goes out the window, and suddenly they're scrambling to adjust. And let's not forget about the fans. They're the heart of the game, and calls like this drive them nuts. They want to see fair play, not phantom fouls. When refs make calls that don't make sense, it takes away from the excitement of the game. Instead of talking about amazing plays, fans are left debating referee decisions. You'd think bad calls would just affect one game, right? Wrong. These phantom fouls aren't just messing with players' heads, they're shaking up the whole league. How far does this referee ripple effect go? You might be shocked. Let's talk about team morale. The Fever? They're feeling the heat, and not in a good way. After those questionable calls, you could see the frustration on their faces. It's like trying to play chess when someone keeps moving the pieces when you're not looking. How do you plan your next move when you don't know what the rules are? And the Aces? Sure, they might have benefited from some calls, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows for them either. When the refs are inconsistent, it messes with everyone's game plan. 1 minute you're playing aggressive defense, the next you're tiptoeing around because who knows what'll get called a foul. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The Fever's playoff hopes? They're hanging by a thread. These calls aren't just affecting one game, they're potentially changing the entire playoff landscape. Think about it. Every win or loss at this point can make or break a team's season. And when refs are making calls that don't make sense, it's like throwing a wrench in the whole system. Fans are losing their minds over this. And can you blame them? Social media is blowing up with people calling for better officiating. Some fans are even suggesting a flopping rule for the league. Imagine that, having to make new rules just because refs can't get it right. One fan summed it up perfectly. We just laughing at the acting job. But here's the thing. It's not funny when it's affecting real games and real playoff chances. The Fever have been struggling to find their groove, with 2 losses in their last 3 games. And now, with these officiating issues, it's like trying to climb a mountain with one hand tied behind your back. But here's where it gets really wild. These officiating problems, they're not just a one-time thing. Fans are starting to see a pattern, and it's got them worried about the future of the league. If refs can't make consistent calls now, what's going to happen in the playoffs when the stakes are even higher? It's not just about this one game between the Fever and the Aces. It's about the integrity of the whole league. When fans can't trust the refs to make fair calls, it takes away from the excitement of the game. Instead of talking about amazing plays, we're all sitting here debating whether a foul was real or not.